Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Ayelet Zurer about Moonhaven on AMC+. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for being interested and loving the show, and I can't wait.
Well, you know, it's so great. I mean, who doesn't like a good sci-fi, right? A sci-fi show. I mean, come on. Is that your favorite thing? I mean, you've been doing storytelling for quite some time now. Is that your favorite thing, kind of diving into all these different worlds? Is that like the best part of it, pretty much?
Yeah, it actually is. It's being able to jump from one thing to another, and figuring out like this puzzle of what this is, and you know where I'm going with it, and also a little bit of suffering, thinking, oh, I'm gonna suck, and then you're going, oh, I'm fantastic, and then the next day suck again, and it's just like a journey, you know. It's fun.
And this show on AMC Plus, I mean, I'm curious about the early kind of mindset specifically, where like what's going through your mind? You see the scripts, you kind of get a feel of your characters. It's a big world. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot kind of happening. What is kind of going through your mind, like kind of the early stages of like shooting this show specifically?
Well, with this one particularly, I was really interested in Mighty from the beginning, because I actually was asked to read for something else, and I read the scene and I said, no, this is who I am. I'm Mighty. I understand who she is, what she's about. And so I read for it, and then they said, great, but read for the other one too. And I read, and they said, great, but actually you're right. So you know, I had an instinctual feeling about what I can do with her and what she's about, and I sort of fell in love with the whole aspect of what she is.
Yeah.
But then going into it, it was a learning curve, because I was wondering how you can play someone that's on one hand wise, on the other hand naive, on one hand meticulous, on the other hand completely intuitive and knows things beyond a little bit, spiritual yet grounded. You know, there was, you know, so you could do many things. You can go many routes in execution wise, and so I sort of made a choice based on nature. Mm-hmm. For her, based on some things I've watched in Ireland where we shot, that I was thinking, that's the groove, and then worked on the sound and how she speaks, and also just trying to deliver the lines in a way where you can actually understand what she's saying, because she's flipping everything backwards, and she's so visceral. Her language is so visceral, you know.
Were you able to see the complexity with this character like early on, like reading the scripts for this? Because but I feel like sometimes though certain characters, it will take a while to be like, wow, like this character, you think you got the character covered, but then you keep reading a couple more pages and you're like, wow, this is a lot more complex and difficult. But for this one, it was right away like this is a complex character.
I felt it, but I made sure that I'm on the right path. So I asked to speak with Peter Oko, who wrote the show, who's amazing as a human being, but also an amazing writer and producer of this, who orchestrated this whole thing in a wonderful way. And then we had a coffee with masks.
Yes.
Every time. And and I asked many questions, and he gave me many answers. And he actually also gave me then like a video presentation of what is Moonhaven, how it was made. Because when you see that, you know, the meticulousness of how he actually created this, and of course the writer, the team of writers that we have, was just like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You know, I got this whole thing visually before everybody else actually watched the show, so I had that in my mind, because Mighty in the way really understand what IO is. You'll see further down the line, you'll get more and more information about her, who she is, what happened to her, why she is, blah blah blah. But also you'll see her working with IO, and I think that was a part that I was really intrigued by.
I'm curious what you think about what I'm about to say now, because I find what I love about the show is I'm very interested in the characters. I'm very interested in seeing the journeys of the characters and like the relationships of other characters and the growth and the arc, right? And then to me, to be honest with you, the sci-fi and the space sometimes is just kind of there. It's just in the background, but I'm kind of focused on that. So what do you kind of think about that? Because it is a sci-fi show, but there's a very like humanistic feeling to a lot of these characters where the sci-fi gets kind of thrown in the backdrop a little bit, I think, a little bit sometimes. What do you think about that a little bit?
I love that it deals with human relationships with inside the family and also friendships. I think it's really what makes the show special, because there's sci-fi, there's fantasy, there's a lot of shows in this genre, but you want to say something unique. And I think to be able to say something unique about humankind, you really have to dig deep into characters and their relationship to one another. And I think we have to relate to that in a different way, because we go, oh, that's fun. Let's go watch sci-fi, a detective story, put the puzzle together, see some gadgets, maybe some violent, but this thing has a little bit more. It has a little bit more of relationship between people, almost like a drama.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny you mention that because I'm a big fan of sci-fi and everything, but like one of my favorite shows, growing up was Battlestar Galactica. And basically that show specifically, I really enjoyed it because it was like they're in space and everything. I get it. But the real focus was on like the politics of like the spaceships and what's happening and the people and people crossing each other and, trying to get to the top. And it was like, that's what I'm very interested in. Like the characters.
I think a good show it's like looking at me, like I am here wearing this, sparkly thing, but is that really me? This is just a beautiful cover, and underneath this is all I'm wearing my, and I'm home. Yeah. But that's relatable because we are all people. We all have homes. We all have struggles. We have complicated relationship with people, with our parents, with our children, with our brothers and sisters, and with our neighbor. And we see it here, and we also get a little bit of humor around. So that's really special, also in sci-fi, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Times have changed for a while since you've done interviews, right? It's not just kind of being at a hotel, like the Man of Steel day, like the Man of Steel days.
Really well dressed, but wearing this.
Did that, because you did Losing Alice on Apple TV Plus. Was that kind of one of the first ones that you did where it was like during the pandemic, where it was like a Zoom interview? Would you say?
Yeah.
And that was like almost 2-3 years ago, right?
No, it was mid 2020.
Yeah, it was like 3 years ago. I know. Like it feels like, as the pandemic felt like it's been like 8 years.
I'll give you that.
No, it's so crazy. I wanted to ask you too specifically because, I'm born in 1991. So I grew up with a lot of, geek culture and comic book culture and everything. And I used to get like teased when I had like a Spider-Man shirt on or a Batman shirt on. You know what I mean? Now, I'd be like the most popular kid in school. You know what I mean? Like, and you worked like in the DC world, you worked in the Marvel world. Is it blow your mind to see? I mean, when you worked on Man of Steel, it was starting to get more popular, but like now where it is now, does it blow your mind that it's like mainstream? Like those are the biggest movies that come out now.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird?
It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in really small films. I mean, the 90s were the best, I think.
Yeah.
Music-wise, films, I'm thinking, I mean, listen, it makes me wonder why these films are so successful now, why Marvel is doing so well, why, all the DC are doing so well. What is it that we are looking for as an audience, as people?
Well, I think it's the popcorn big scale aspect of it. I think that never went away, but I think some people caught on more. Like, it was always there for me. That was my favorite thing about going to see those movies, right? You literally sit in the theater and it's just explosions and spaceships and all this stuff happening, and you're just sitting there like, wow. You know what I mean? So
I think maybe because we can make them now, because we have computer generated abilities that we didn't have before. But I also think we're looking for that somehow.
Yeah, but I think where there's an appetite for those worlds. And again, though, I think you look at Marvel with the Avengers and all that, there's so many characters, but there's so much interest about the characters, kind of what we were saying about Moonhaven a little bit. Like, I think people like are interested in the characters. That's why I think like the side movies specifically about those characters do well as well, because we're interested in the stories, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think you can have a beautiful sci-fi, what Scorsese called a park.
Yeah.
Something like that. But if you don't have characters and if you don't have really deep meaning to the relationship of the characters in the story, we don't really care.
We don't grasp, absolutely, yeah.
We'll eat a burger and then we forget that burger.
Yeah, that is so...
Same as others. But in some cases, if you are able to really say something while you are having fun, like in Moonhaven, I feel like.
So good,
then you have a complete experience where you are also experiencing something viscerally, but also subconsciously.
Oh, absolutely. Last question before we wrap up. Moonhaven AMC Plus, when the audience gets a chance to watch it, what are you hoping they get out of it, takeaway-wise?
Well, I hope they will take the humor and lean into the language, and because we have very strange language embedded in this to help us with creating this world and the different way that they are looking at, and also just enjoying the empathy that these people have and taking time to put the puzzle together.
Absolutely. Ayelet, thank you so much for coming on Pop Turnative. It was so great chatting with you.
Thank you. It was great chatting with you.
So AMC Plus, Moonhaven, they're going to look out for more episodes, and that's awesome. And for social media, there's an Instagram account people can follow you at, keep up to date with everything, right?
Yes, it's just at Ayelet. I tried to do other things. I can't. I'm the name.
Absolutely. Well, this has been Pop Turnative, youtube.com/PopTurnative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Ayelet Zurer from Moonhaven on AMC Plus and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Turnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop Turnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Pop Turnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.